The Bengals hit the road, a Monday night showdown with the Dallas Cowboys. And guys, it's a 4-8 team against a 5-7 team. They couldn't move it from Monday night. It actually works out really great for me because now I can watch college basketball on Sunday afternoon. But the Bengals will be in an interesting spot, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about who is favored. We're going to also dive in. I did not really realize this until a few days ago. Jerry Jones and Mike Brown do not get along. They do not like each other. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the Cowboys defense. We are going to talk about all kinds of things, maybe some players that we would like to see in these last 5 games, because I don't know about you, but I could be okay with not watching any more Geno Stone. This is Deep in the Stripes. It is the Sickest Bengals podcast, and I am your host, Elise Jesse.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Deep in the Stripes with Elise Jesse.
From 31 yards, McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl. They did it. They beat Mahomes at home. Wow, Joe Burrow. No way.
The sickest Cincinnati Bengals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Vegas, just like us, cannot quit the Cincinnati Bengals. They have the Cincinnati Bengals favored by 5 points on the road in Jerry World. I'm actually I'm not shocked by that, because Vegas has been going with Cincinnati the majority of the season. And obviously we all understand why. It's because it's very, very difficult to count out players like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. So I think those 2 players in particular keep Vegas caring about the Cincinnati Bengals, or favoring them in a lot of these matchups. The over-under at 49.5, and this is a fun stat. 9 of Cincinnati's 12 games have gone over the total this season. So I'm going to expect that trend to continue. Cincinnati's defense is porous, but the Cowboys defense has also had a lot of difficulty and trouble this season. Combined, I've got so many fun stats for you guys today. Combined, the Bengals and the Cowboys defenses have combined to allow 30 plus points 10 times this season. That's an ugly number for both of them. Can Cincinnati's defense at least show some competence against a Cowboys offense? Like the Cowboys offense, they have Cooper Rush. They don't have Joe Burrow. They rank 29th in EPA per play. We got to see something from Cincinnati's defense. Please. Begging for it. Begging for something different than we have seen. We've talked a lot this season about how they have not been able to tackle, and they've had their bright moments. They've had their bright spots. They played really well against the Chiefs in particular. But to go into week 14 and be asking for a team to tackle well, the fundamentals, they're practicing that at a very early age, you guys. It's ridiculous. Geno Stone has been on the hot seat for not being able to tackle at all, but he wasn't necessary. He was a 7th round pick, and he was not known as a guy who was some lights out tackler. He wasn't some great tackler coming in. We knew that. Bengals ranked 28th in first downs allowed and 30th in conversion percentage given up. This means that Joe Burrow is not on the field as much as he needs to be. He's not on the field as much as he could be if Cincinnati's defense played well or got off the field on 3rd down. Wouldn't that be fun to see? It would be a blast, I think. I wrote down what I wanted to see, and I feel like I felt like a little kid at Christmas time writing out a wish list for Santa Claus. It's you don't know if that list is going to come to fruition. You really don't. For example, my daughter put a flying carriage, and it is being flown by a real unicorn on her Christmas list this year, and she told Santa that's what she wanted. That feels the same to me, what I'm about to say, what I want to see on Sunday. I want to see Cincinnati's defense play better on 3rd down. I want to see clean, crisp tackling. I want to see guys who look like they know what they're doing, like they are comfortable, like they are playing with confidence. I want to see some energy. I want to see some passion, not just from the players, but also from Lou Anarumo. Like, think about this for a second. There are only 5 games left of the regular season. Lou Anarumo, yes, he's been on the hot seat a lot this season. He came out on Monday and told the Cincinnati's media that he does plan on starting Geno Stone again. Like, at this point, he could be coaching for another opportunity in the league. And you're going to risk that opportunity by rolling out Geno Stone again? Geno Stone, very nice guy, not a very nice tackler. Why are we continuing this trend? Why are we continuing to put this guy out there on the field and expecting him to play better when he has shown you 13 games is a big enough sample size to know whether or not a player works in your system? I mean, come on, get it together. Players, listen, not only is Lou Anarumo potentially coaching for his next coaching opportunity, this is a primetime Monday night where everyone has the opportunity to watch how this defense looks, to see just what everyone's been talking about, to see how Lou Anarumo coaches and how he schemes and how his players react to him. If his players, like, people are able to tell, especially other coaches around the league, GMs, owners, can tell if a player looks lost or confused. I'd make changes if I were him, but I'm not him. I remember, and it's so funny. I don't think, maybe Geno Stone, because he obviously had those 7 interceptions last year with Baltimore. So I don't want to rag on the guy because he has shown that he can be productive, but maybe he is just not the right player for Lou Anarumo's system. I remember back in 2020, I was going back and forth with a source within the team, and I was just asking why Sean Williams, he was a strong safety for the Bengals at the time, and he was drafted by Marvin Lewis's crew. Zach Taylor was hired in 2019, so this would be Zach Taylor's second season, and I was just kind of asking, like, why isn't Sean Williams getting playing time? And the source was like, well, it's because Lou Anarumo did not like his tape last year. And I went back and I looked at Sean Williams' stats. In 2018, before Zach Taylor took over and Lou Anarumo took over that defense, Sean Williams, he started 15 games. He had 5 interceptions on that season. And then the first year under Zach Taylor, the first year under Lou Anarumo, Sean Williams' productivity dropped. He had 1 interception on the year. And then it was just talked about, like, Sean Williams just simply, yes, he's been a good player in the past, but he is not a player that works in Lou Anarumo's system. And maybe Geno Stone is the exact same way. That could be the case, honestly. And players on Monday night and the next 5 games, they're putting tape out there. Joe Burrow said it. They put the tape out there. The tape lives forever. Lou Anarumo did not like Sean Williams' tape from 2019. He did not start a single game the next season. These players not tackling, not having energy, not taking the right angles, not doing what they're supposed to do, looking confused, will not help them in the future with future opportunities, with future contracts, with their ability to live the lifestyles that they currently live, making the money that they do in the NFL. I would take these next 5 games, even though they're out of the playoffs. If I am a player or coach, I am taking these next 5 games so seriously because I know that people will pay attention to how I look. It's their resume that they are now putting out for the rest of the league if they want to continue playing down or coaching down the line. And I understand part of why maybe Lou Anarumo would not want to move on from Geno Stone so quickly. Like, you see this commonly, I think, in the league, where a coach or a group of coaches evaluates a player. They think he's good. The franchise commits money to that player. That player ends up not being productive, does not work in that system. And the coaches, the evaluators, do not want to be wrong. So they continue to commit to that player, roll that player out, and expect his play to improve, even though it hasn't in quite a number of weeks. To me, watching this scenario play out, it looks like an ego decision. I really hope that I am wrong in that, but that is how it is looking right now, is that rolling Geno Stone out, instead of playing different guys like Dejon Anthony, Mumajong Meta, Tyson Anderson, instead of giving those guys a significant amount of snaps to see how they look in live game action, the final 5 games, it is telling me that there is an ego involved. And dang, I hope I'm wrong. I do. But what's the harm in letting the younger guys play? What's the harm in giving these guys a significant amount of snaps to show the current coaching staff, or maybe a future coaching staff who comes in, what they can do on the field in live game action? You can only do so much. You only get so many reps as a backup in practice. Roll the new guys out. What's the harm? You're not going to the playoffs. You're 4-8 team. At least make it fun. At least make it exciting. After all, I've said it before, the NFL is for entertainment. Please entertain us. Please, begging. I cannot watch another snooze fest. We've seen way too many of those in 2024. No, thank you. Moving on, I will be watching this specific player on Monday night. Cowboys edge rusher Micah Parsons could be a problem for Cincinnati's offensive line. Joe Burrow has already been sacked 30 times this season, putting him right in the top 10 of top most sacked quarterbacks in the league. Where's my stat? Because this is an incredible stat, considering it goes along with what I just told you. Joe Burrow, even though he has been sacked 30 times, Joe Burrow has thrown for 15 touchdowns over Cincinnati's last 4 games, making the most touchdown passes in a 4-game span in Cincinnati Bengals history. It tells you, I think those stats tell you, even further explain how good Joe Burrow is. Wish he was on the field more. Wouldn't that be fun? Joe Burrow is entertainment. Joe Burrow is fun to watch. Jamar Chase is fun to watch. They should have more opportunities on the field to entertain us, but they don't, because this defense cannot get off the field because they can't tackle. Eye roll. Cincinnati's offensive line is also going to have to be dealing with former Bengals defensive end, who was also drafted by Marvin Lewis's crew, Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson had a sack last week. Micah Parsons has like 3.5 sacks over the last 2 games. The Dallas Cowboys are on a 2-game win streak. They're feeling themselves right now. Granted, they beat Washington and the New York Giants, but they are on a 2-game win streak, and they are absolutely feeling confident going into Monday Night Football at home in Jerry World. I think they're going to try to make a statement on Monday. So Cincinnati's defense has got to be ready. Cincinnati's offensive line especially has got to be ready. None of this coming out flat. None of this coming out with no energy. None of this getting behind the sticks early. I don't want to see any of that. That's boring. I've seen enough. I feel like I'm speaking for other people, but I'm not going to claim that because I think that's weird. Mike McCarthy. He's really interesting. I find how they talk about Mike McCarthy in Dallas. And I've just been, kind of researching just different articles. Like you search his name and then you see what kind of articles like pop up and stuff. And I find it so intriguing how there are a bunch of articles about how the Dallas Cowboys will be moving on from Mike McCarthy because of his 5-7 season. And they say that in these articles with confidence. Grant, I am not Dallas media, so I do not know if those claims that he will not have a coaching job in Dallas next year are even substantial. But the fact that they are saying that in their articles with such on their podcasts, on their radio shows with such confidence is hilarious, because he's led this franchise to 3 consecutive playoff appearances for the first time since the 1990s. 3 straight. Zach Taylor 4-8, and I would not feel comfortable writing an article saying Zach Taylor will not have a job next season. There's a clear-cut difference between Mike Brown and Jerry Jones. I don't know Jerry Jones personally, but judging off of that, there's definitely a difference in how these two owners run their teams. And we can get a little bit further into the Jerry Jones, Mike Brown. Jerry Jones is funny. I think there's pluses and minuses to both owners. I'm going to give you my opinion first before we dive into their issues that they have. I think Mike Brown is lovely in the sense that he is not like Jerry Jones, who is going on, 105 The Fan, and he is constantly giving team updates, and he is granted he's the GM also, but he's constantly giving his opinion on things. And I feel like if you are a coach in Dallas, that could be something that's tricky to navigate, because you are probably in a situation where you are having to field questions about what the GM/owner is saying publicly. So and players have had to answer for what Jerry Jones has said in the past too. So that's one thing. Grant, I wish Mike Brown would be available to the media more often than once a season, but I do respect the fact that he does not put stuff out in the public weekly for his coaches and players to have to deal with and answer to, if that makes sense. I'm just going to read this. Jones and Brown. It's so funny. Jones and Brown have a long-standing feud. I'm just like imagining them fighting, like arguing back and forth, screaming at each other. Like that's just funny to me for some reason. Have a long-standing feud regarding revenue sharing. NFL legend has it, Jones and Brown once got into a heated argument during an ownership meeting over Brown's refusal to sell naming rights to Paul Brown Stadium. Obviously, Mike Brown has flipped his stance on that. And I guess during there was a trial in the summertime, and I guess Jerry Jones essentially took the stand during this tribal for TV rights. It took the stand, and then essentially, without being super blunt, called Mike Brown cheap. So just another little stab that he's taking at Mike Brown. I would be so interested to see if those two interact on Monday night, and if they do, how the interaction goes. I was not originally aware that those two were butted heads very often. I guess I could see it, but I think that's funny. Supposedly, this is again coming from Jerry Jones. CeeDee Lamb should be good for the game. We should see number 88 out there on the field. I guess he left the game in the third quarter against the Giants on Thanksgiving Day. He had an AC joint injury in his shoulder, and so he left that game, but he's had since Thanksgiving to rest and get ready for a Monday night game with the Cincinnati Bengals. Neither one of these teams, I also saw some funny articles from the Dallas side about how the Cowboys are trying to keep their season alive or something. I don't think that they have much of a chance to make the playoffs, even with a win over the Bengals. I want to say it's maybe 7%. And if the Bengals win against the Dallas Cowboys, they're at a 4%. Like those percentages are so low. Like, are they even worth talking about? Like, I'm not going to talk about the playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and tell y'all that the Bengals have a path to the playoffs. We're not playing that game. That game is dumb. But yeah, I will certainly be watching. I would even if the Bengals don't win on Monday, seeing explosiveness, energy, fire, like something entertaining. I would love to see an entertaining product in prime time. The bar is pretty low, isn't it, at this point in the season? Will we see it? I hope so. They talked a lot about coming out on fire against the LA Chargers, and they did not. So I will be interested to see if you could talk about rest. It's not like the bye week gave the Bengals any more juice in week 13. I didn't see it. If you did, please comment and let me know. We will, of course, have another episode coming up for you. It'll probably be on Tuesday because the Cincinnati Bengals play on Monday. So we will have a reaction podcast for you there. And of course, thank you for being here with me. Like, thank you for just letting me rant as I do and talk. And please subscribe so we can just continue to spread this podcast around to more Bengals fans, and comment and let me know. Actually, I would love to see your score prediction. So if you have a score prediction for the Bengals and the Cowboys, let me know. Again, the over-under is 49.5. In my opinion, the Bengals every single time out have to drop at least 38 to even have a prayer 38-40 to even have a prayer at winning. That's just my take on it at this point. 14 weeks into the season, we will see. Have a great day and enjoy that game on Monday. I hope we can all enjoy the game on Monday. I'll see you on Tuesday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Deep in the Stripes with Elise Jesse on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.